Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with a Ashe supplementary guide. So once again, I don't think this is really the best build for Ashe, but I think it's a really good alternative build, particularly in the current meta. So I think that this crit build is the best build for Ashe. Going like full crit I think is the best way to go. However, I think this is a very good alternative build for the current meta, because obviously we know that current meta has a lot of tanks, and Bork is the counter to tanks for ADCs, because obviously with the Bork, you're gonna do current health damage. So especially when tanks are high on health, this is gonna give you a lot of extra damage. So obviously you guys can see we're jumping straight into the build. First up, we're starting with the Gluttonous Greaves. Of course, gives you the AD and Omnivamp. Don't need to explain this one too much. And then, as I mentioned, we're gonna start with the Bork. So Bork gives you minimal AD, gives you a good amount of attack speed, which helps you proc your Kraken Slayer more often, gives you physical Vam, which is of course very helpful, and as I mentioned, the main point of this is the Ruin Strikes passive, which of course gives you the current on health damage on hit. And also, furthermore, the Drain passive also really useful to just get extra movement speed, especially with Ashe, because if you slow them down and you get extra movement speed, you can close the gap and pretty much just run people down. Then we have the Triforce. Triforce, of course, the price got reduced a couple of patches ago. Really strong item now. Gives you health, make you just that little bit more tanky. A little bit of AD, a decent amount of attack speed, and a good amount of ability haste. Of course, allows you to spam your W more. And of course, your Spellblade passive means that whenever you use your W or your Q, your next auto attack is going to do a lot of additional damage, as well as giving you extra movement speed. Next up, you're going to go for the Runaan's Hurricane, which is going to allow you to attack 3 people at one go, which is going to give you, a couple of purposes. Firstly, of course, it's going to apply on hit onto 3 people, which is number 1, going to apply 3 slows to 3 people because of Ashe's passive. Secondly, it's going to actually apply the Bork passive onto 3 people, so you're going to be able to shred 3 people at one go, so really core item. And finally, you're going to go for Mole Reminder for the Armor Pen as well as the Grievous Wounds. Now for your last item, it's sort of like a toss in the air, because you remember you have 3 non-crit items, so you could go for Mole Reminder, and you could go for a last item defensive item, like for example, you could go for GA. Of course, you could also go for some other options. So some other options you could go for is something like a Black Cleaver, although you do already have Triforce, so it's a little bit less efficient, but this of course gives you a good stat line as well as allowing you to shred people's armor. My favorite option is actually Wit's End, because it gives you again more on-hit damage and more attack speed, but you only really want to go for this if the enemy team of course has magic damage. And then of course you have your usual suspects of your defensive options, and by defensive options I mean, if I can actually find it, of course you have your GA, it's not under here, of course you have your GA, and of course you have your other options, like I guess your Twin Guard, and my mind's just blanking out when it comes to defensive options at the moment, but your Sterex or your Shield Bow, where is Shield Bow? Here it is. Yep. So defensive options like these, so all of your your usual suspects, and then you move on to the runes. Of course, we're gonna go for Kraken Slayer. Kraken Slayer, gives you a lot more damage than than like Conqueror or Lethal Tempo. I don't really think Ashe needs attack speed because you have 3 attack speed items, so you don't really need Lethal Tempo. Conqueror does give you a good amount of damage, but I think Kraken Slayer is just more generally useful for like in lane, and later on it scales decently well as well, since it scales with your bonus AD. But yeah, a lot of lane phase damage, especially if you play around your Conqueror. Of course, Brutal, because you're an ADC that auto attacks a lot. Giant Slayer, again, tank meta, as well as generally doing the most damage in this slot. And of course, Alacrity for more attack speed. And finally, we have Bone Plating, which is of course going to give you that defensive capabilities in lane and in late game as well. Of course, you do have some other alternative options, like Cheap Shot, for example, is really good on Ashe. You can proc it very often, and it's a very good source of damage, but I think defensive option is going to be a little bit better, because you of course have like kind of no mobility. You only have like a slow as your CC. You also have your ult, of course, but I think safety is really important for a champion like Ashe, who doesn't really have any dashes. So finally, you want to go for Flash, and I normally go for Ghost, because on Ashe, if you can Ghost and slow someone, you can either definitely catch up to them, or you can definitely run away from them. So as long as you don't get one shot, your slows plus Ghost is going to allow you to escape. So anyways, with all that out of the way, let's jump into talking about our gameplay. Okay, so now hopping into the gameplay. Now, I think Ashe is one of the most underrated ADCs because I think most people see Ashe as like, she was weak for a long time, and to some extent she's still not the best. I think she's like a mid-tier ADC. She's not the best, not the worst, like kind of like just an okay pick, and definitely a very situational pick. You don't really want to be picking Ashe when your team is lacking damage. So here, enemy team face checks into the bush. It's a Samira Alistar, and we're immediately bullying them. You can see the Kraken Slayer proc onto the Samira. Does a lot of extra damage, and here we're just chasing them down because really important thing to note here is that level 1 we can win this lane very hard, and if we don't hard win the lane in level 1, we can get punished in levels 2 and 3. Why? Because at level 1, Alistar has either only Q or only W, so he can't really do anything to us. And Samira has the lowest range out of all ADCs except Nilah. So we can punish her because Ashe has the second highest range out of all ADCs. Only Caitlyn has higher range. So we have to take advantage of our strong level 1 to basically deal as much damage as we can and kind of prevent them and delay them from reaching level 2 as long as we can. Because when they hit level 2, Alistar gets his EQ combo, Samira gets her E and her Q. QW combo on Alistar, and Samira gets her QE, which allows them to hard engage onto us and look for an all-in and look for a kill. So you can see here, even under tower, we're going onto Alistar here. We predict that Samira is going in, so instantly Nami gets the prediction bubble, beautifully done by the Nami, and I'm able to finish off the kill on Samira, who of course we already chunked out to an incredibly low HP. Now I would argue that even if Samira did manage to engage on me with her E there, I think she still dies because she doesn't have W to negate damage and she's really low. So in reality she shouldn't even have tried to go in there. Alistar also made a mistake by engaging because Samira cannot follow up without dying. And this is not the fault of Samira or Alistar. This is of course because we played the lane well and we abused them in the early game, and the early game meaning like level 1, because level 1 is where they're weak at. So now, despite the fact we just got a kill, we actually have to be very careful because Samira Alistar at level 3, very strong. They can get an all-in onto us and pretty much kill us 100 to 0 if we are found at the wrong position. Like if they engage on us in the middle of the lane, we are not getting out. Unless maybe we flash and ghost away, we might be able to get out. But yeah, so we don't want to mess around with them too much, and this is why it's really important to get an advantage, in the earlier at level 1. It's not even at the earlier stages of the game. It's really just at level 1, because that's the only time we have a very strong advantage against them in lane. And if you don't realize this and you don't abuse them level 1, you're gonna lose at levels 2 and 3. But now you can see that at the worst case scenario, even if we die, it's only gonna equalize the lane for them, whereas now we have a very significant lead. So now here again, because Samira and Alistar doesn't have range, we're basically starting a slow push here, where again we're gonna get an advantage because with the slow push, they're not gonna be able to engage on us because there's too many minions, and if they do that, they're gonna die to the minions. And furthermore, we now have an XP advantage because me and Nami are now level 5 and they're both only level 4. So now they once again have to be scared of us, which is why I'm zoning them away from the minions again. Because if they come anywhere near, they're going to get ulted by me into Nami and etc, and they're going to die. So here now Alistar hits level 5. We now want to be careful again because he basically can tank a lot of damage with his ulti. And of course, when Samira hits level 5, she's going to get ult herself, which is going to give them a lot of extra kill pressure, which is why we basically are backing off now, because we don't want to stick around near the tower when Samira gets ulti, because then Alistar can go in and Samira follows up and kills us. So here we're going to back, we're going to pick up our items, and we're going to head back out to lane. Now of course we're sending the Hawk Shot as well to check for vision. We saw Kha'Zix on the bot side, so I thought he might reset and go top side, so I checked the buff. He's not there, but he actually appears in vision for a brief second at mid lane, and he's actually ganking Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate unfortunately unfortunately I guess he doesn't end up dying. I thought he actually died there, but he actually survived. So here we are able to actually pick up the entire wave here, and we're now in a really beautiful spot. Alistar is actually missing, so I'm pinging him missing, and of course this means we can zone Samira out from the minions. Using our W to get a little bit of poke as well as to remove her bone plating. Alistar still missing. He either is roaming to a different lane, or he's like waiting in a bush, in the river bush, or he might have recalled. So it turns out he actually did just recall and is coming back to lane. So here Alistar, of course, fishing for some kind of engage, but we don't have to be too afraid of him unless Samira is near in in the instance just now, he was really far up and Samira was really far behind, so we didn't really even have to care about him, because if he engages alone, you know, he's just going to take a chunk and he's not really going to achieve very much. So here, with the minion wave pushed in, we can either try to harass them under tower or try to go for plate. So Alistar now finally goes in, Nami hits an ultimate to pretty much remove Samira from the equation, and as you see here, Alistar is taking a huge chunk. And here we're shoving the wave in. Hecarim understands the situation, is coming for a dive. So here Twisted Fate is joining in on the party as well. Hecarim goes in, tanks the tower. I'm able to ult the Samira for the kill and slowly pelt down the Alistar for a double kill, and we also pick up plates. So now with Twisted Fate and Hecarim both here, we're gonna destroy this tower, and even though Kha'Zix does get the Herald, we are gonna probably be able to secure the first tower. Yet we do get the first tower, so the Herald plate is somewhat negated because they're not going to get the first tower gold. They are still going to get the plates from the mid lane tower though, and it is undefended, so they do... actually, they don't even pick up the mid lane tower. They could have actually just pushed the tower down because there's no one there to defend, but they decide to go for Dragon instead. Now, honestly, us getting a double kill as well as getting the first tower and all of the plates is kind of an okay trade for their plates that they got and Dragon. I think the trade is relatively even overall, so not too upset about that, despite the fact that they got both objectives. Now we're going to hit back over to the bot lane where we can see Samira farming. We're having none of that. We're not going to allow her to farm. Alistar is now back, so we want to be a little bit more careful. He hitbutts me away for some reason, which basically means he has completely no threat anymore. We're just running him down. And Samira is now caught in a bad position as well because she doesn't have a tower anymore, and we get the kill on her as well. And now we actually become unstoppable with 5 kills, and but somehow my team didn't get any other kills, so we have all 5 of our team's kills, which is pretty scary because, of course, while this is really good because we got ourselves fed, it's also bad in the meantime because it means that if I die, my team is gonna have like no damage and is gonna be a lot less useful because they don't have any kills. So might be time to, like, you know, start giving my team some kills. Just as I say that, Teemo actually gets a shutdown onto Darius, and with that he's actually ahead of the Darius despite the fact that he's 3 kills behind. Here Alistar goes in on his own, and because I'm Ashe, I can perma slow him, Twisted Fate stun cards him, and we actually you know, pick up a kill. Or we don't pick up a kill, but Hecarim picks up a kill onto him. So you can see kind of the power of Ashe, where Ashe is kind of an ADC that because of her slows, she can hard punish mistakes made by the enemy team. The moment they overextend, even though she doesn't do so much damage, but the fact that they are slow, it means that they cannot escape and they do just end up dying. Somehow Aurelion Sol out hits me when I thought that I stepped out of the circle. But anyways, for his efforts, he's just gonna eat an Ashe out and just gonna be sent back packing to the base. So we do secure the mid lane tower, and here I'm rotating to see if I can help out Hecarim against the Darius and the Kha'Zix, who seem very interested in going for the Hecarim. Here I'm hiding inside, and here I'm actually popping the ghost to try to run people down. I'm trying to run Darius down, but he still has a tower, so I'm just getting some free auto attacks on him, proccing my Kraken Slayer and my Bork. And obviously Darius probably is going to just recall, so I'm just going to clear out this minion wave. And I recall since Teemo is now back in the lane to farm. Right, so of course we're building towards our Triforce. So we are getting some components and slowly you know, building towards it. Now we're just gonna hit down mid. Mid is a tower we want to really watch out for because they have not yet gotten any of our towers actually, but they do have objective bounties. So here the enemy team hugely overcommits. I flash the wall to get in range to do damage. I kill the Kha'Zix, and now I'm focusing the Alistar, I believe, or Darius actually. Get the kill on Darius. Samira jumps into the backline but doesn't have her ultimate, so she does end up just dying again. I think she actually comboed wrongly there. I think if she comboed correctly, she would have gotten ultimate and might have been able to kill us because Nami would have died and Samira would have gotten a reset on her E. So if she actually hit the combo correctly, she might have been able to actually pick up some kills. But fortunately for us, she messes up her combo and she ends up dying instead. So now Samira and Alistar, you know, both really not doing too well. 0-4-0 on Samira and 0-3-0 on Alistar. Acel also 0-2 and 0. Yeah, not doing too hot at all. It's just Darius and Kha'Zix keeping them in the game. And we actually fought against this Darius in the previous match, and he was also on the enemy team, and he also did really well. And it was one of the reasons why we lost the game. So kind of getting a little bit of revenge because now he has a bad team and now my team is actually doing pretty good. Like especially TF and Hecarim both haven't even died yet. Teemo kind of feeding, but still ahead in gold compared to the Darius somehow. So here Kha'Zix is recalling. We're just gonna let him go because you know, killing the Kha'Zix is nice, but you know, getting this tower is, you know, just as nice. Getting the tower uncontested. So we do pick up the tower here, and we're now gonna rotate over to the mid lane, see if we can get anything done. We eat an Aurelion Soul ultimate for our efforts. Of course, it's kind of undodgeable unless you flash over the shockwave. Kha'Zix tries to go onto me, but he doesn't really do that much damage. 1Q barely actually dents me. He does about a quarter of my health only. We kill Alistar, who has gone in. We kill Kha'Zix. Samira now tries to go in with the ulti, but takes way too much damage and evaporates before she does any meaningful damage. Now we're 8-0 and 6, super duper fed. Here I'm actually pinging for the dragon. But my Hecarim decides to jump in between two towers for some reason and give Darius a shutdown, and Darius is able to chase down Nami to get another kill, so I'm gonna have to peel off of the dragon, and you know, a huge shutdown goes over to Darius, which is not good because Darius is kind of the main carry of the enemy team at the moment, aside from maybe Kha'Zix, who's also doing relatively okay. So now I get my Runaan's components, of course with Triforce already completed some time ago. And Teemo's actually soloing he's not soloing the dragon, he's actually hiding in the dragon pit trying to assault someone. So he goes for the A-Soul, gets A-Soul really low. So I'm gonna launch the Crystal Arrow with the prediction, catch A-Soul, finish off the kill, but we do get hooked by Darius. Now here, honestly, I thought I was gonna die. Like, I have a Kha'Zix on me, I have an Alistar looking to get on me, but my team comes over to back me up, and now we're able to turn onto the enemy team, focus down the tanky Alistar with, of course, our shredding abilities. Hecarim ults over the wall, finishes him off, and we basically kill the entire team except the Samira. Samira decided that the best use of her time is to get a split push off, which honestly I think that's not exactly wrong, because she is getting like 2 objective bounties from the 2 towers, which is a lot of gold for her team. However, you could also make the argument that in that fight, I was actually really low, and if she was actually there to follow up and clean me up, she might have been able to actually reset and, you know, get the rest of my team. So you could argue that that was also the wrong decision. Either way, we're gonna complete our Runaan's Hurricane, and we're gonna head out to stop her. She's already gotten 2 towers, and she somehow kills Twisted Fate, which is actually Twisted Fate's, you know, not first death but second death. But yeah, I'm not sure how she killed Twisted Fate there, but something must have gone horribly wrong. Anyways, here we're waiting for the buff share from the Hecarim, and we pick up the blue buff. The Gromp is getting done by the Hecarim, so we're gonna move over to the mid lane and defend this mid lane tier 1 tower. Once again, even though, you know, we're defending number 1 the objective bounty, but number 2 we're also just straight up defending the tower, because them getting mid lane tower is gonna give them a lot more freedom to roam around the map. But with the mid lane tower still standing, it's a lot harder for the enemy team to do that. So here I'm kind of just standing outside the bush to try to bait, since my Teemo and my Nami is here, but obviously no one can really see me because there's no minion wave, and no one is really falling for the bait, so I'm just attacking minions. Teemo setting up some shrooms, like if someone walks by, might just, you know, get shroomed, but no one really comes, and, you know, I'm deciding to just back off to farm the jungle. Hecarim meanwhile farming the red buff. I'm just waiting for the buff share, which I do get, and now I'm going to recall. And as I'm doing that, the team was kind of getting caught here. He does actually get caught and a fight breaks out. So I'm going to send my arrow to see if I can get a variable target. I don't want the Alistar, I want the A-Souls. I hit onto the A-Soul. Hecarim is able to follow up with the CC and finish off Aurelion Soul before he can actually do anything. And now I'm trying to join the fight, but obviously the fight is proceeding in kind of the wrong direction away from me, so I can't really join the fight. So I'm going to clear the minion wave instead to ensure we have a wave to push down mid with, and we can maybe get a mid inhib and maybe even a bot inhib, because we do have a wave over there. So I'm going ahead to go for the mid lane inhib while the wave is getting pushed in on the bot lane. So I focus down the mid lane inhib, we get that. I'm focusing the Alistar now because he's a little bit overextended. Samira overextended as well. We finish her off and finish off the Alistar as well. And now we're going to focus the Darius, but Kha'Zix just leaps in. We get the Kha'Zix instead. And now it's kind of time to leave because we're taking a lot of damage. Maybe we can secure this tower. Hecarim actually gets it. And now it's time to leave. Yeah, we're all below half HP except TF, and Teemo is not with us, so we don't really want to take a fight in the enemy base where Darius might be able to get a multi-kill and, you know, get more fed and get himself back into the game. We don't really want that, so we're going to instead quickly just recall and get back to base. Now building, of course, the armor penetration components. We get the anti-heal, we get the Last Whisper as well. Of course, really helpful to get penetration against, again, the Alistar and the Darius, who are both pretty tanky characters. Here we're just farming the jungle, farming the Grom, since the Hecarim is actually going for the blue buff. And now my Runaan's bolts actually managed to get the blue buff, which kind of pisses the Hecarim off, understandably. But now we're going to go for Baron, because we're so far ahead, not too much the enemy team can really do. Control Ward in the pit to ensure the enemy team has no vision at all. And now we actually mark up the Kha'Zix. We go for the stun onto the Kha'Zix and finish him off so that there's no chance of him stealing the dragon. Asol tries to steal with his ulti, but doesn't really work out. And we spot Darius here, so with our slows and with our range, we're trying to just get free damage onto him without putting ourselves at risk. He hooks in someone who's not us, so we are pretty safe here. We get clipped by the tip of his Q. Doesn't quite matter. We now flash onto the Samira, finish off the kill on Samira. And the minions, together with our Hecarim and our Nami, is going to finish off the game while we're busy chasing kills. So anyways, that is it for this video. I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.